Well, hello everyone.
There we go.
I am, I'm, Sloaters27. I'm gonna be bringing you some Super Metroid any percent. I'll be here myself, kind of talking through the run, and also I'm sure Giggles will be able to help out a bit too. He's pretty good at this game as well. So, it should be fun.
Oh, you flatterer. I believe we are good at your leisure, my friend.
Alright, then I'll go ahead and get it started in 3, 2, 1, go. And we are off on Ceres Station. The start of most speedruns of this game will begin here. Pretty straightforward section. We're just going to make our way to the end of the station, do a tiny boss battle with Ridley, and then quickly make our way off the station. Not too much crazy stuff going on here. There'll be some RNG with falling ceiling tiles and steam popping up, but a pretty straightforward section.
Well, I'll take the straightforward section for the opportunity to let everybody know that this is where the save and kill bid war comes into play. We'll be cutting it off. When do you want to cut it off, Slaughters? When you get through Mother Brain 1 or Mother Brain 2 or what?
Yeah, probably. I would say Mother Brain 1 head drop is probably a good spot.
Okay, so we've got about 40-ish minutes left on the bid war, so if you want to see Slaughters save the animal or save the frames, take your pick. But once Mother Brain's head hits the ground, that's going to be the end of that. And regardless of which way you benefit, the children in Ukraine benefit from the generous support of Save the Children. Ooh, 4610, nice series.
Thank you. Yeah, so like I said, there's a bit of RNG with that section. Steam, there's a few spots that can pop up or maybe not pop up, and ceiling tiles falling down, so easy to get trolled in that section, but that one went pretty well. So now coming up to Planet Zebes, it's going to be a bit of a slow start. We're going to get our first few pickups being the Morph Ball and our first missile pack. Once we have those and we start heading back up the planet will be awakened and we'll start to see some enemies in the areas we've run through previously.
Guess now's as good a time as any to talk about route. With any percent, there's two fundamental routes for boss order. You can do the intended order, which is Kraid, Phantoon, Dragon, Ridley, or you can do the harder route, which is Phantoon, Ridley, Kraid, then Dragon. Sloaters has elected to do the harder route. I kind of laugh whenever we call it new route, because I'm pretty sure that the first time this held world record was 8 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't know why we still use those names, but I guess they just kind of stuck. Technically still correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Right, I was gonna say, was it Kip or Slaughter or Hockey? I feel like it was Hockey who said that he calls them old route and bold route now.
Yeah, that also makes sense. Yeah, there's our first two pickups. That Morph Ball will allow us to go in ball form and get through a lot of these tunnels now. The missiles will allow us to open these pink doors like the one you just saw on the right side of the screen. That's going to open up the planet a bit more and let us get our next upgrade, the Morphing Ball Bombs, which opens the planet even further. So I'll be running through the areas I just came from, and you'll see there'll be a lot more enemies this time around to make it a little bit more difficult. And funny enough, a lot of these early rooms are actually pretty tricky to do quickly. They involve a lot of platforming and wall jumping. And to really grind these rooms out and get fast room times, it takes a lot of practice to have quick, snappy movement like this.
They're the hardest easy rooms in the game, I believe is how they're described.
That's right. Yeah, with that morph ball and missiles, we get access to this area. This will be our first real kind of boss fight. Bomb Terizo. When we attempt to leave the room here, we're actually going to be locked in and are forced to face this little Chozo statue here. So I'm going to try to position myself in a very specific spot that'll make this guy just jump back immediately. Oop. And I wanted to have a certain number of P shots into him. And then finish him off with missiles, but fortunately he was trolling me a little bit, didn't give me a lot of drops.
This can all be avoided if you do BT skip.
That's true, but unfortunately I am a human, so I cannot do that skip real time. Unless you're playing on the PAL version of the game, in which it's very possible to skip that boss fight. And there's our first energy tank of the game. We're going to need at minimum 3 of these. They just give us more health. And to survive the final boss's most powerful attack, we need to have at least 301 energy. I'll probably end up getting 4, just because it's a lot safer to do that, being a marathon setting and all that. But luckily most of them are pretty much right on the path. Don't take a lot of time to get. And now I'm going to do the first sequence break of the game, which is using a Mach Ball to get the early Super Missile Pack. So normally there's a mini-boss you need to fight, but by doing a glitch here, where I go into Morph Ball with running speed, I can actually go under those falling gates, rather than go and find the speed booster before coming here, and grab the Super Missile Pack way before I'm supposed to be able to grab it. And this will let me get through green doors now. And you'll see there's one coming up in Big Pink in a second. So no Spore Spawn today, unfortunately. I know he's kind of a fan favorite.
Haven't paid for the DLC yet, you know, that's how it is.
I'm waiting for it to go on sale before I buy it. So we'll grab another missile pack here. And the Charge Beam. The Charge Beam is a great upgrade. It allows us to charge up our beam and shoot a more powerful shot. Basically by grabbing this, it's going to allow us to skip a bunch of ammo packs that we would need to take down all the bosses. There's only one boss that we need ammo for. The rest of them can all be taken down with Charge Beam or through other methods. There's also a minimum ammo count we'll be getting for that one boss, which is at least 3 regular missile packs and 2 super missile packs. Oops, I want to hit that guy.
And here's where the routes usually diverge. If you were doing Crate first, you would go down the Red Tower, but Sloaters is going up, which is... it can be scary because a lot of the things are going to do a lot more damage because you don't pick up the Varia suit, but this is the fastest way to do it, so that's why most speedrunners will do it this way.
Yeah, the boss I'm about to go and fight, typically, in a normal playthrough, you would come up to this boss with a new suit that cuts your damage taken in half, and you'd also probably have like 3 more energy tanks or so. So I really have a lot less equipment than is intended for this section.
For sure. and we're coming up to one of the harder tricks here. I believe it's a 2-frame jump into a 1-frame jump. There's 2 frames you can jump from, but whichever frame you jump from, it's a frame perfect wall jump. The trick is called the continuous wall jump. It lets you wall jump without changing direction, without killing your speed, so you can get across the moat. And there's a backup if it's missed called the horizontal bomb jump, which is just doing a bomb jump but doing it at an angle.
Yeah, so
back up first try.
I jumped a little bit too early to get that double frame perfect trick. So instead I did the backup bomb jump as you described, so that's not too bad having to do that backup. Either failing to jump at all or just messing up the second jump and falling in the water is a pretty big time loss, so I'll take the bomb jump all day.
And now we're coming up to one of the biggest sources of RNG in the fight, which is the Phantoon fight. He has 3 different speeds of patterns he can do. We just call them slow, mid, and fast. There's about 6 seconds difference between each. So this fight can cost you about 24 seconds, 22 seconds I think it is actually, if you get the worst pattern compared to the fastest. And it's also very dangerous because each hit does 40 damage, so I'm going to let Sloaters focus on this.
So no fast pattern for the first round. We'll see if I can get a mid here. There's a mid pattern. I'm going to be using missiles to try to damage him down. And basically what I'm trying to do is, as I'm firing missiles into him, typically he'll disappear after you do a certain amount of damage, but if you are running into him, the missiles will actually hit him at a fast enough rate to kind of stun lock him in place, and you can actually do this fight in, really you can do it in 1 round if you're like a god gamer, but most people will do it in 2 rounds as it's much easier compared to a 1 round.
Were there like 3 runners who've ever done 1 round in a run?
Yes. It's relatively, new tech going for a 1-round Phantoon fight. But you'll see a 2-round fight is pretty standard in most categories in this game. So with beating that boss, that activates the wrecked ship. You'll see it's all lit up now and all the doors are accessible. I'm going to grab this missile pack in here, or super missile pack, which is the last one I'll be grabbing for the run. And I'll be making my way towards the big reward of this area, which is the gravity suit. Gravity suit is the most powerful suit you can get in the game. It basically... I want to make sure this guy's dead. It basically does everything the various suit does, but better, except for one specific thing. But most importantly, it's going to reduce a ton of damage for us. It'll let us move through water freely without having our movement slowed down. And it'll also prevent us from taking heat damage as we travel through the heated areas in the lower half of the planet.
Sometimes I wonder if they left that flag that way to where, regardless of which suit you have, you get heat damage, because even with all of the sequence breaks, they made kind of obvious they never expected you to be able to get gravity without Varia. Here we are.
There's a lot of fascinating. Sorry to cut you off. There's a lot of fascinating stuff with like sequence breaks in this game. Once you've played through it a couple times, that you can do. It's pretty cool.
For sure. I was going to say, now that we're here at the bowling alley and we've got 30 seconds, I was going to say to let everybody know that Save Kill donation is going to go for about another 20-ish minutes. If you're looking to snipe it, I would say don't, because the cutoff's going to be relatively strict, because we have to know which way Sloaters is going to go. So go ahead and, if you're planning on sniping, get your donations in now. Save is currently ahead by about $23, so it's not an insurmountable lead by any stretch. And regardless of which way you decide to donate, all proceeds will go to Save the Children for their Ukraine Relief Fund. And any and all donations that you are willing and able to make are greatly appreciated by DogPoundSpeedrunning, by Save the Children, and by the children in Ukraine.
Alright, so now is a pretty good time to be looking at my resources. Health, usually as long as you're not about to die, is normally fine. As far as my ammo, I have 10 supers right now, which is really great. I want to have as many supers as possible heading into the next area. And also having 4 power bombs is great, as there's going to be a lot of yellow doors I need to open, and other things that are breakable with power bombs that I need to have power bombs for. So not really gonna need to do any additional farming, and kind of just keep working my way down to our next boss.
Yeah, this is a heavy item collection segment. You know, with this route, you get basically the absolute bare minimum you need to get through most sections, and then you get a couple of things that do a little bit of extra damage. So here he's going to be picking up the Spazer, which makes his beam wider and does a little bit more damage than just the regular beam. He'll be picking up the Ice Beam and the Wave Beam to increase his damage a little bit more, and then picking up the Speed Booster to move a little bit quicker. But that's, I believe, all the new stuff. We'll get a couple expansion packs as well. Oh, High Jump Boots. Can't forget High Jump Boots. And then straight into Lower Norfair with just that kind of bare bones stuff.
Yeah, and similar to the wreck ship earlier, I'll be heading into this section missing kind of a lot of resources and a few key items that would make that section a lot easier, so that's another very precarious part of the run. I mean, this whole run is pretty dangerous for the most part from start to finish, but the Norfair area is definitely the most dangerous part. Yeah, there's my second energy tank. Again, that one's like right in the path. Pretty hard to miss that one. There's those high jump boots, which low-key really save you a lot of time in really every category. As any randomizer player will tell you once they've played a lot of this game without the high jump boots, they know the power of high jump. Again, I'm going to be using that mock ball technique. Normally you need speed booster to get past those falling gates, but using a mock ball I can just squeak right under, and I'll pick up the ice beam before moving ahead.
Are you going 3 tank, or are you going to grab Ridley tank for a safety?
I'll probably grab Ridley tank. And again, we'll do a cute little mock ball, using those frozen enemies as platforms to get enough running speed. Get under those gates again. That's a very big time sink if you mess up that strat, otherwise you have to take the little hidden morph tunnel at the top of the room. Fortunately, there's a lot of pink and green doors leading up to Ridley, so I'm going to be burning through a lot of super missiles. You'll see there's like kind of a few spots where I'll try to farm supers. Hopefully stay pretty close to 10. Oop. Oh, nice drops. That can be a very aggravating room with that cack attack at the top of the room. Can knock you down and cost you a lot of time when you miss the jump like I did.
Now we're getting ready to pick up the speed booster, which, as its name implies, lets you run fast. And then going to be picking up one more missile pack and the wave beam, and then heading straight into Lower Norfair. Now, normally going into Lower Norfair, you need to have, in addition to the gravity suit, you need to have the space jump from Meridia. But since we're not going to Meridia until the very end, Sloaters is going to do one of two things, preferably one, and then the other is just a backup. He's going to attempt to do a short charge and a very precise timed deboost to get far enough back and do a shine spark to the top of the lava pit before the entrance to Lower Norfair. And if that doesn't work, he has a backup called a gravity jump. Gravity jump is kind of an interesting mechanic. If you jump and take off your gravity suit from shortly after the jump in the pause menu, I believe they store speed and acceleration as separate values, and your acceleration stays the same. So you keep flying up as if you hadn't turned off, or you had the same speed as with the gravity suit, but you don't have the water physics or the immune to water physics dragging you down as if you didn't have gravity suit. That was English.
Yeah, it's a very clever abuse of those mechanics, for sure. If you watch some of the other categories, or even like in randomizers, you can see that being put to good use in Meridia and underwater sections. Short charge looked good. Perfect. So not only does that strat look really cool, it's the fastest way to get up there without space jump, and it also saves you a lot of health compared to doing that gravity jump, since you have to spend some time in the lava without any suits on.
Well, lava and heated room, so you're taking double ticks.
Yeah, that's true.
So now we're coming into... Go ahead.
I mentioned earlier this is a pretty precarious section, so it's going to be pretty important that I take as few hits as possible. Taking like one hit's okay. Anything past that, it gets very scary very quickly.
Yeah, this is the supposed to be the end game section, and you're here with basically nothing. So it's very, very scary. Even the Ridley fight is pretty precarious, even when we know his AI. But we have a lot of different ways that we can get through areas like this with the bare bones. I mean, low percent is a category, so it's easier than that. But like the fast pillars shine spark that he did to get across the room with the rising acid, the way he got up the so-called worst room in the game with the 3 pirates, and even that shine spark he did right here in the Key Hunter shaft to clear those out, since he doesn't have any other efficient way to kill them. All of this has been finely tuned to make it so that we can get through this section with as little damage as possible, so that we don't need all those extra resources.
Yeah, using these Shine Spark Echoes to kill enemies is super clutch in this area, like you saw with the Key Hunters earlier, and with these Ninja Pirates now. It just makes killing those guys super efficient. Luckily I got very good drops. I'm coming into this room full on Super Missiles, which is great. Super Missiles will do double damage to Ridley, so having as many as possible going into this fight is going to speed it up quite a bit.
Didn't get an extra one from the Zebos, but still, 9 supers is a very good position to be in here.
So basically I'll try to use as much of my missiles as I can at the start, and then keep using beam shots. Once I see Ridley change color, I'll know that he's has less than 50% of his health left, and then I'll know how many shots to take and how many supers to shoot for him to be dead. Ridley's kind of an interesting boss, and that when he dies, he just won't immediately like explode and start dying. It'll actually attempt to grab me. And there's some ways you can kind of speed up that process and make him die, run away. And probably what I'll end up doing is jumping into his claws to try to get him to stop. There it is. Ridley's down.
And it's even more than that. You know, every time Sloaters ran through and got hit by the tail to shoot him in the back, that's manipulating Ridley's AI to turn him around, so he just kind of pogos over the side where he can't actually touch you. It makes the fight significantly safer and more predictable.
Yeah, so I came into that fight with a ton of energy, and I finished it after Ridley's drops, like pretty much full on health. Normally I would not grab this E-tank here. This is just going to be a safety E-tank to make getting through here and the rest of the game a little bit easier. Typically, if I could come out of this room with like 200 energy, that's kind of like the bare minimum I would want. So I'm pretty much at like double that right now, which makes this way, way safer. That's a really cool strat there. Putting your power bomb in a very specific spot to not break all the blocks in that giant power bomb block, and then clipping through the floor at the right time to deboost off of that side hopper into a short charge, into a mock ball with the speed booster active to break through those bomb blocks. Kind of like what Giggles said earlier, like this section is, you know, very well refined with strats to make it as safe as possible and also fast.
Even the key hunter shaft there, every move you make controls the key hunters because they're on a global timer and they move based on your position. So, yeah, if you make one mistake, then they get in your way, or if you move too fast, they can get in your way even. And that's going to be the same in this room too, with the Three Musketeers.
Yeah, that room didn't go how I wanted it to go, but since I had so much extra energy, it really was not that scary. Even after taking multiple hits I didn't anticipate. Still coming out with 136, which is a lot.
And we're out of the danger zone and on our way to Kraid, who was supposed to be the first boss. And we're going to be picking up the suit that we should have had before we even went to the wreck ship. While we get through some quick movement to get out of Norfair here, I will remind everyone that DogPoundUkraine benefits Save the Children and their Ukraine relief efforts. The Ukraine crisis has already forced at least 1.5 million people from their homes, and over 400,000 children currently live in the conflict zone. So anything that you can contribute to help them out is greatly appreciated by DogPoundSpeedrunning, by Save the Children, and by the children in the Ukraine. Also, a reminder that Save Kill Bid War is still going on, and we also have 2 incentives to meet still. There's Hollow Knight Path of Pain, which is about $22 away, and then Hollow Knight randomizing the lever placement in the rando, that's about $90 away. And I believe that the only thing between Super Metroid and Hollow Knight is Undertale, the true pacifist run, because we did meet that incentive. Just in time for you to talk about Great Quick Kill.
Yeah, so basically, Kraid has 2 phases. There's the first one, and the fight's over. Basically, when there's a certain part of Kraid's opening mouth animation where if you hit him with a super missile, he'll lock into place, and if you actually manage to fire enough ammo when he's locked like that, you can just skip the second phase entirely. So luckily we didn't see him stand up and fill the entire room. We can just move on quickly, grab our various suit and go. So you might be thinking, if Gravity Suit's so much better than Varia Suit, why are we grabbing Varia? And the reason for that is the final attack from the Mother Brain fight, without Varia Suit, will do 600 damage, and we need to survive that attack. But if you have the Varia Suit, it'll only do 300 damage. So weirdly, the game only checks for if you have Varia Suit when determining how much damage you take from that attack. So for that reason, instead of grabbing 3 extra energy tanks, we'll just grab the Varia Suit instead.
It is convenient because we have to kill Kraid anyway to get access to the final area.
Yeah.
Now we're into Meridia. Meridia is, I'd say it's very technically difficult.
Yeah, there's a few important tricks here, and the bosses. The bosses are kind of difficult as well. Not really as much as like dying to them or anything, but just trying to do them quickly. It requires a lot of practice to kind of learn the techniques for them. Yeah, I guess we didn't really get to talk about X-Factoring much yet. So by having the charge beam and one of your other beams on, and having power bomb selected, if you hold a charge shot long enough, you can do what's known as a special beam attack. In this case, with just having charge and wave beam, we do what's called the X-Factor attack, which basically causes 4 wave beam particles to come on screen, sort of in an X pattern. Oops. Some people will actually use that on the Ridley boss fight. I don't do that with the way I do the fight. But you'll see it pretty commonly on Batoon, Dragon, and even the Phantoon fight in different routes of this category. Fortunately, I was just going for a trick there, the full halfy, where you charge up a Shine Spark and spark across this room, but I didn't pull it off in time, so I just had to run through the room like normal.
It's a fun name, Full Halfy. There was a trick found many, many years ago called the Halfy, which is the exact same trick. It's just, at first, it was believed that you'd only be able to really get across half the room, which is where you spark before you even go through the door. And then it was discovered that with very precise movement, you can get all the way across the room. So instead of calling it the fully, because that sounds silly, they decided to call it the full halfy, because that doesn't sound silly. Dragon, interestingly, is the only boss that can be damaged by a Shine Spark, and if you kill Dragon with a Shine Spark, you'll actually get, and you don't already have run speed, then you'll get what Sloaters got there, which is called a blue suit. And he just did a double frame perfect trick to turn that blue suit into a spike suit, which means he has a stored Shine Spark he can launch basically whenever he wants, by doing normal Shine Spark inputs, and he has to avoid doing it until then, or else he'll use it incorrectly. And there he just use it to get back across the Coliseum for the trick called the reverse halfy, which is technically the reverse full halfy. But it's not called reverse full halfy because reasons.
You gotta love explaining like the whole Dragon section of the game. I feel like there's like a million things to like explain with doing that fight and the blue suit and the spike suit and all that.
That's true of every category. I don't think it's just the Dragon section. Like, if you were to try and explain every single thing that's happening, it would be impossible. There's not enough time, man. Yeah. Speaking of not enough time, as we approach the end game here, want to remind everybody that the save kill incentive is going to be cut off here. It's probably going to be about 5-6 minutes. Save is currently in the lead by $23, so if you want to see Sloaters do the objectively correct thing and save the frames, then you should donate to Killing the Animals. And if you want to see him go slow, then you can donate to Saving the Animals. But the time is running out on that bid war, so if you're planning on going towards that, now is the time. I'm getting better at these segues. So leaving Meridia there, Sloaters did not grab Space Jump because the only area that really needs Space Jump is Lower Norfair, and we were already done with Lower Norfair, so it's actually just a waste of time to grab it. And then the other major item you could get is the Plasma Beam, but getting to the Plasma Beam takes a lot of time, and the Mother Brain fight is only about 40 seconds longer without the Plasma Beam, so it's just faster to not get it. So basically, Meridia exists to kill Dragon and nothing else.
So now we just have a little cutscene. We'll watch all the bosses we've defeated, their spirits leaving this statue, and that'll open the entryway into Torian. This is a great time to practice your horizontal bomb jumps and just reflect on your run in general. I do kind of like there's this because most of this game it's pretty much non-stop action, and there's this part like right before the end where you just have to sit here and just kind of wait in anticipation.
I mean, you also get a break during bowling.
Oh. So normally this is where I would pause the game and turn back all my beams for the final fight, but I forgot I turned them all on earlier when I was gravity jumping to get out of Mount Everest. A little extra pause there on accident, but that's okay.
So as Sloaters goes through the Metroid rooms, I'm going to explain the last major trick in the game, which is the baby skip. So we're going to come across the baby Metroid here in a couple rooms. And the baby Metroid likes to grab you and eat you, but it just so happens, if you jump around the baby Metroid just so, you can avoid getting grabbed. And if you avoid getting grabbed, you save, what is it, like 40 seconds or something like that? From animation time, having to refill your ammo. Speaking of refilling your ammo.
Yeah, unfortunately, so the bare amount of ammo I needed to have here was 20 missiles and 9 super missiles. But unfortunately, the Metroids didn't really give me a lot of drops, so I'm going to have to open up a couple doors and then go back and refill my ammo before continuing. Fortunately, I can still finish, but it'll be a little bit slower because of that.
It's just like jump rope. Except the rope will eat you.
Yeah, so normally I would just kind of continue through here. I'd use supers on all these doors, but because I need that extra ammo, I'm gonna use regular missiles and then run back here where there's a missile recharge station.
Coming up on the Mother Brain fight here, it's pretty straightforward. Just don't get hit by stuff and shoot her in the face 60 times and you win. Got about 30 seconds left on save kill, BT dubs.
Yeah, with one missile to spare, I did get one of my missiles sniped. Yeah, that's the boss that you can't use charge beam on, unfortunately, so that's where you need to use your ammo at. I guess we didn't really talk about Z-skip either. Normally you need to use ammo to get through the red barriers in this room, but you can just do a clip using the ice beam to break through and skip past all of them. Unfortunately, with that skip, we don't have to grab nearly as much ammo as you would need normally.
Yeah, the Rinka, which is the little red circle that you freeze, when it's alive has a round hitbox, and when it's frozen has a square hitbox. So if you jump into its hitbox and then jump up, it kind of forces you up and out into the Zepatite. It's really silly. And turns out Mother Brain is a master chef, giving you meatballs and onion rings and French fries and ketchup for all of it.
And ketchup on top of all of it. So yeah, once you see that that red, call it the ketchup beam attack, you know that Mother Brain has only 25% of her health left. And that's going to be about 15 shots left once we see that red beam. And with that, Mother Brain's dead. I'm going to damage down to just under 400 energy. After this rainbow beam attack, it'll do 300 damage, taking me under 100 total, which triggers this cutscene that's about to happen. And we'll just kind of wait a bit until Mother Brain 3.
And you will be saving the animals today, good sir.
Unfortunate, but it's for a good cause.
Speaking of good causes, while we have time in a cutscene here, DogPoundUkraine is raising money for Save the Children's Ukraine Relief Fund. Millions of children are dying from preventable causes, face poverty, violence, disease, and hunger. They're caught up in war zones and disasters they did nothing to create, and they're denied an education and basic rights owed to them. During the war in the Ukraine, Save the Children is supporting children still in Ukraine with online mental health sessions and distributing items to families. The Ukraine crisis has already forced at least 1.5 million people from their homes. Over 400,000 children currently live in the conflict zone. Child poverty rates are up more than 57% in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions of Ukraine. And since the beginning of the conflict, over 750 education facilities have become damaged. Any contributions or donations you guys are able and willing to contribute are greatly appreciated by DogPoundSpeedrunning, by Save the Children, and by the children in Ukraine. And getting this far in just one day with about a week to plan this event is really awesome. So if we can get to our goal before the end of the marathon here, I think we have 5 hours left. That would be just fantastic.
Alright, and as you saw, thanks to the Baby Metroid's gift of the Hyper Beam, Mother Brain 3 is a super trivial fight. With that, for some reason, the planet is exploding, as it always seems to does in these games. And now we just need to escape the planet, make it back to our ship, and that is where we will call time. We'll take a little shortcut through this room, using the speed booster to break through these blocks. Nothing too crazy in these last few rooms, just some platforming, killing some enemies, dodging some enemies. I'll do my last Shine Spark of the run right here. We're actually back in the climb, one of the first rooms on the planet. Spark all the way to the top.
don't forget to save them. As much as it hurts
That's
my soul
right.
to say that.
So normally you can just go right to the ship from here and finish the game, but the path down here is actually open to our animal friends who are trapped inside, and we can let them out by shooting a hole in the wall. Not sure how they got there in the first place, but I don't question. I just do what they tell me to do. Save the baby Metroid.
Man, you
Leave
did
the
that
planet.
Alcatraz with high jump boots? That's the hard way.
And that's time.
44:51 with saving the animals is a very solid time, good sir.
Yeah, we made it under estimate, so as long as we did that, I think we did our job.
Well,
Yeah.
with that, do you have any closing thoughts while the credits play out?
Not really. I mean, thank you for having me on, guys. I always love getting to showcase this game. It's a lot of fun. Keep up the donations. I see we're getting pretty close to the goal, so I don't know if there's more incentives we have to fill, but regardless, keep
Yeah,
it
there's
up.
a couple of Hollow Knight incentives still.
Okay. Yeah, thanks again for having me. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you, Giggles, for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks for offering.